Welcome, everybody, to my first and maybe only live review party. It's a party and you're invited. And if you're watching this after the fact, you missed it. Um, this is just something I thought might be interesting, might be fun to try. And so we are going to discuss Ghostbusters, which, if you've watched my YouTube channel, I've done probably like 6 videos on Ghostbusters, so you know I'm a big fan of the franchise. Ghostbusters, the original '84, is my favorite movie of all time. I even like Ghostbusters 2, even though honestly it's not that great of a movie, but I still like it. So I was excited to see a new Ghostbusters movie. Oh, I like the cartoon too, and I don't know if you can see it on my shelf behind me. I don't even know where it is. Where is it? I have the Ghostbusters, the real Ghostbusters series somewhere. Uh, oh yeah, you can see it. But I'm in my own way. Uh, there it is, right there. That's the firehouse. That contains all the Ghostbusters, real Ghostbusters stuff. I don't have Extreme Ghostbusters. I'm not even sure that's on disc, but it's okay. I really don't like the aesthetic of Extreme Ghostbusters, but the show was all right. What I saw of it. Anyway, so Ghostbusters came out on uh, July 15th, and I did see it. I saw it opening night with my mother. I was on vacation at the time, and that's why I have not really talked about it because I was gone. I didn't come back. I was in Washington at the time. We saw it in Vancouver, Washington, and I didn't get back until I think August 1st or something, and I just been catching up on stuff and haven't got around to reviewing it. So, after me talking about it and doing live reactions of all the trailers and excitedly consuming all of the various media and stuff, what do I think of the movie? How's the movie? It's okay. It's okay. Um, I like it. Don't get me wrong. Found it quite enjoyable. Um, can you add me in PS3 and do a video? I guess. I don't know what you mean by add me in PS3, but sure. I don't know if you need like a screen name or something. I have no idea what it is. It's probably my name. Um, I don't play online, so. Anyway, the movie's okay. Uh, I found it enjoyable. I did enjoy it. I've seen it twice now. I actually went to see it again this weekend. What's interesting is I agree with most of the reviews I've read in that the third act is where it loses steam. For the first 2 acts of the movie, I'd say the first hour and 15 minutes or so, I would say that the movie is solidly good. Then the third, by the way, full spoilers. The movie's been out for a month, so over a month. So full spoilers. Turn back now if you care. Um, Pretty much right after the Ghostbusters' first encounter with Rowan, and then he dies, and then they're fake arrested. Pretty much from that point on, I feel, is where the movie starts to unravel a little bit. And really, my biggest problems with the last act of the movie are there are enough little niggling things that don't make any sense to me, things that serve to pull me out of the movie. Um, for example, what happens in the last act of the movie? Well, Rowan dies, he becomes a ghost, he possesses Kevin the secretary, and then he breaks the barrier to the spiritual realm, and all the ghosts come in and start wrecking stuff in New York. And Rowan, for reasons that either are not explained or I missed it both times I saw the movie, for some reason has super ghost powers. and I don't know why. It's not really a huge deal, but it's something that I sit there watching the end of the movie. I'm like, why does he have super ghost powers? Did he know he was going to get super ghost powers? I mean, he seems to be significantly more powerful than any of the other ghosts coming across the veil. And I I sit there going, why can he do all these weird things that he can do? He can possess people, which okay, I'm sure ghosts can do that. He has major telekinetic powers, uh, to the point where he can make his host fly, which is fine, I guess, except it's like, do all ghosts have these powers? I mean, we know ghosts have some form of telekinesis, the ability to move objects that they're not currently inhabiting. I mean, the Green Dragon ghost inhabits a mannequin and walks it around. What's her name? Altridge, Gertrude Altridge ghost at the beginning of the movie. She lifts up a chair and throws it at the tour guide. So we know they have at least some form of telekinesis. But he can, like, kind of control ghosts, maybe, and reshape New York into a version of the 1920s or 30s. Um, he can he can take the form of a giant logo ghost, which I'm like, how does he have these powers? Why does he have these powers? Did he know he was going to have these powers? Again, not necessarily a problem, but enough that it takes me out of the film and I start wondering about these things. Uh, I mentioned the New York, and I'm ignoring the chat right now, so I'm sorry about that. The New York Times Square battle, it reverts to a decades past version of itself. Why? It doesn't seem to factor into the plot in any way. In fact, most people watching the movie probably won't even notice. It, it's very visually subtle, and it's not important. It doesn't relate to anything. And again, I sit there going, why? But what for? I mean, it's a cool visual, I guess, but the major Times Square fight with the Ghostbusters, I start wondering, well, wait a minute, their weapons seem to be the proton stream seems to, in the beginning of the movie, just wrap itself around a ghost to hold it in place so you can stuff it into a trap. In the final fight, they seem to be kind of like blowing ghosts apart with their proton streams. So I sit there going, well, wait a minute, how exactly does their equipment work? There's when Kevin gets possessed, he somehow has like made himself a Ghostbusters uniform and painted his bike Ghostbusters colors, and he drives up and he's like, "Hey guys, come on, let me help you. I can be a Ghostbuster. I was born to be a Ghostbuster." And I sit there in the audience going, "Where is this coming from? This was not set up." Now Kevin's kind of a random guy, so uh, I guess it's okay. But it feels like there was a scene missing, like Kevin was pestering them for them to take him on their metaphysical examinations, and they wouldn't let him go. It feels like there's something missing. Just like um, Erin, Kristen Wiig's character, gets separated from the ghost, but well, I think she just kind of goes home, and then the other three Ghostbusters get tackled by a Stay Puft Marshmallow Man Macy's Day Parade balloon thing, and she pops it with a Swiss Army knife. And the music swells and it's triumphant, like, Aaron came back! And it's like, this was something not set up? It plays like the return of a character that left when the character didn't really leave. It feels like there's something missing. You've all seen the original Star Wars, I'm sure, right? You remember the scene where Han Solo they've rescued Leia and they're back with the Resistance, and he's got his reward, and he's loading up the Millennium Falcon. I think Leia comes up to him and says, "Oh, you're just gonna take your reward and vamoose, huh?" He's like, "Hey, this is not my fight. Yeah, I did it all for the money." And she's like, "Oh, well, I hope you're happy with yourself." And Chewie gives him snark, and he says, "Shut up, I know what I'm doing." Now, at the end of the movie, Vader's about to shoot down Luke, and suddenly, silhouetted by the sun, the Millennium Falcon comes flying in, and it clears the path for Luke so he can blow up the Death Star. And it's like, oh, Han came back. This is great. We're friends again. Good is gonna triumph over evil and all that stuff. Now imagine that scene if the previous scene did not exist in the movie, with Han loading up the Falcon with his rewards, and Leia and Chewie giving him crap about it. His return would feel weird, wouldn't it? That's the kind of feeling I get in the third act of Ghostbusters when Aaron comes back. It plays like it's supposed to be this big return, but she never really left. She just kind of went home and got separated. So um, it's a little weird. Paul Feig has said that the disc version of the movie, DVD and Blu-ray, or maybe just Blu-ray, because you know they do that kind of stuff, will have 10 minutes of extra footage. There's going to be an extended edition on disc, and I quite look forward to seeing that because the movie does feel, in several cases, like, I mean, it's long enough, it's like an hour and 48 minutes, but it feels like there's stuff missing. Like, they're like, guys, we've got to get this under 2 hours. So, but that said, uh, the movie is still entertaining. I think it works in a lot of ways. But that's why I rate it as merely okay rather than good, because that third act just pulls me out of the movie often enough that it lessens my opinion of the film as a whole. I still enjoy the experience overall, though. I really like the cast, not just the Ghostbusters, but pretty much everyone in the movie. Um, most of the jokes land. The worst jokes are in the trailer. The power of Patty compels you, and the failed stage dive. Yeah, for me, those are definitely the stuff in the trailers that everyone hated. We're like, oh, those are pretty much the worst things in the movie, and they're enough. But yeah, I like the cast. The humor works. I like the fact that it's not just a retread of the first or second film. It really does its own thing, which makes it interesting. The cast has a great chemistry. They're fun. It's like the new Star Wars, The Force Awakens. Not a great film, but in fact, I'd argue that as a narrative and a film, Ghostbusters works better than the new Star Wars. Um, Kind of an unfair comparison because Star Wars is a sequel and Ghostbusters is a reboot. So while Star Wars kind of feels bogged down by its adherence to the original movies, Ghostbusters doesn't have that same problem. It homages the first movie, but it never. I didn't feel it got in the way of itself doing that. If it was a sequel and it did that stuff, it would be annoying. But being that it's a reboot, it worked for me. Just little off the cuff references and uh, redone beats and things like that. The music in the movie is really, really good. I'm talking about the score. I don't really care for the Fallout Boy remix, but it's only in, I think, one scene of the movie. And, whatever. But the music score is actually really, really good. And the music's used really, really effectively, too. I especially like the orchestral rendition of the Ghostbusters theme, which is used to great effect in a lot of places, especially during the final battle where Holtzman is using her dual wielding proton streams to blow up a ghost, which makes no sense. But the music is great, and they have an orchestral version that da 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 da, and they have a choir come in. And, oh man, very cool, very cool. Um, Most of the jokes actually landed for me. Uh, like any comedy, there are jokes where you're like or but most of it worked. So, oh, Jordan was asking me about Lady Slimer. Yeah, dumb, but she's in 20 seconds of the film, so eh. Um, really, the biggest problem I have with Lady Slimer is she looks stupid. Because instead of a Lady Slimer, she's a Slimer that looks like she raided a costume shop and literally put on a blonde wig and smeared lipstick on her face, which is fine. I could totally. Slimer's a mischievous little bugger. I mean, he sees food, he eats it. He sees a car, he drives it. I imagine if he wandered into a costume shop or a dressing room, he'd probably play with the wigs and makeup. So if Slimer, was wandering around in the theater backstage and was, playing with wigs and, makeup and stuff, and then emerged dressed like that, I'd be fine like that because it seems in character. But I don't know, this ghost didn't seem to have ghostly blonde hair, the Lady Slimer. It looked like it was wearing a literal wig, and maybe it was, and maybe that was the point, but it just a dumb design. I didn't like it. But again, 20 seconds of the film, so boy, you guys are chatting away here, and I haven't looked at any of it. Um, if you've watched my previous trailer reactions, yeah, one of my favorite parts is still where the green dragon ghost camps out on Patty's shoulders for no good reason. It's just cops a squat right on her shoulders, which for some reason I still find hilarious. Um, there's something else that stuck out to me both times is that when they're chasing that green ghost down the hallway, firing their proton streams after it, Patty is in the back and shooting over them like this. Usually you see Ghostbusters, they're shooting like this, from in front of them. Patty is like up here so she can shoot over the top of the Ghostbusters in front of her, which it's not called attention to at all, but it's just something I noticed both times and thought was really funny. So, let me back up through the chat here a little bit and see what I missed. Have I been convinced to get Ghostbusters on Blu-ray? Oh yeah, of course I'll get Ghostbusters on Blu-ray. Uh, because extended version, and I genuinely enjoyed the movie. Not perfect. I think it could do with some very obvious improvements in a lot of places, but overall I enjoyed it. And it's what I was going back to earlier with the a lot comparing it to Star Wars is while both movies aren't as strong as we would hope as actual film and narrative, they both really succeed on the strength of their characters. I like the characters in Star Wars, Rey and Finn and Kylo Ren. These are cool characters, and I look forward to hanging out with them in future films. And so the same thing. So it goes with Ghostbusters. I really like all the characters, even the mayor. Andy Garcia is hilarious in this movie as the mayor. So while the movie may not be as strong as we or I, as a huge Ghostbusters fan, would have hoped, it's not terrible. In fact, I think the structure of the film is fine. I think the idea was fine. I think the execution was lacking in some areas, but I really like the characters, and I hope there's more with this cast because I would really love to see another movie with these characters. Um, the teaser was probably the best media they released out of the trailers. Uh, don't know what you're referring to, but if I were cutting a trailer, I probably would. I like trailers that have the confidence to show a scene from the movie. It's like, here's 2 minutes of the movie. Bam! Now you want to see the movie. The Conjuring had a trailer like that, and it was great. For Ghostbusters, I'd probably do something like the first scene, and you see this in one of the trailers. where they're in the subway getting the prisoner ghost. That whole sequence, I'd probably cut a lengthy clip out of there, because it starts and maybe you're not sure what it is, and then oh my god, that's a proton! This is Ghostbusters! And then maybe cut to the end where they're all sitting down and covered in slime, going, "That was awesome. We almost got killed." Let's see. Maybe the machine was powered by the ghosts, and dying by their energy gave him the powers. Maybe, but as far as I know, and I saw the movie twice, there is nothing in the film that actually says that. And that's, this is Ghosts. You can hand wave that away. So you say, well, if I die by the power of the machine will give me powers unimaginable, and I'll leave. Okay, sure, I'll go with that. But it's just, and he has ghost powers, and I'm just not sure why. Um, bu- 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 bu. Again, it's not a huge problem. It's just something that kind of takes me out of the movie because I spend the last act thinking about, why does he have these powers? Did he know that was going to happen? They pretty clearly cut the scene from the trailers where Kevin said he needed to make the weapons. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff from the trailers that's not in the movie. Bu- 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 bu. Yeah, the assembly cut apparently was like 3.5, 4 hours. A lot of the jokes are purely physical, like Holtzman's dance scene as they're moving in. Holtzman's a hell of a lot of fun, and yes, the humor in this movie is a bit more physical than the humor you saw in the original movie. So if you haven't seen it yet and you want to see it, and you're a huge fan of the original Ghostbusters, be prepared that the humor is a different kind of humor. It still has a lot of that very understated reactionary humor. Like when they see a ghost, they're like, "Well, that's incredibly disturbing." Straight face. Um, let's see. Do, 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 do. Felt like the government in the film gave the impression that they dealt with the Ghostbusters before and they're shunned upon. One thing I actually like about the movie is some a twist. The Ghostbusters get thrown in a the men in black grab the Ghostbusters and take them before the mayor, and they're like, "Sir, we're not crazy. We're heading towards a biblical events of biblical proportions." He's like, "Yeah, we know." And like, what? He said, "Yeah, ghosts are real. We know. You're not crazy. You're not frauds. We know, but you're gonna cause a damn panic. So knock it off. Let the Homeland Security do its job. It's been tackling the stuff. You guys are great, and we want you to continue doing your work. Just do it on the down low so you don't scare the crap out of everybody." Uh, I like that. That's a really good angle. I thought that was really, really cool. Um, do, 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 do. I think Rowan had all those weird powers because he died where the souped up ley lines met. Maybe. Again, all they would have needed is alliance. Like, wow, any human soul that crosses over where the ley lines converge would have super ghost powers. All right, you know, but Rowan just comes back and suddenly he has super ghost powers, and I just don't really get why. Um, by the way, I really like the design of the logo ghost. Rowan, you've probably seen it in the trailers and stuff, but Rowan takes the form of the white Ghostbusters logo ghost and then kind of perverts it with glowing yellow eyes and sharp teeth and grows to the size of the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man. Um, I really like the design of the Rowan logo ghost. I think it's really, really cool. Um, Here's another thing that I sat at the end of the movie wondering. It's like, how come their hair turned white? I, I mean, okay, but why? Why did New York repair itself when the portal closed? Why is it daytime now? I'm pretty sure it's nighttime through the entire ending of the movie, and then they yank Abby and Aaron out of the portal right before it closes, and it's suddenly daytime. Was it daytime the entire time? It was just the cloudy vortex of ghostly evil was blocking out the sun? I don't think so. I think it was actually night, but um, weird. Um, he looks like a villain from A Nightmare Before Christmas. Oh, a white Oogie Boogie man. Yeah, kind of. Uh, One thing I wish they'd done, just give a little more backstory for Rowan. I agree with that. We didn't get a lot for Gozer, but it's an ancient Sumerian demon or something. That's explanation enough. I agree. Gozer, ancient Sumerian demon, evil. Gozer worshippers wanted to bring it in to destroy the Earth. So it's an all-powerful interdimensional entity that's going to end life on Earth. It's not a character. We don't really need to know. So I agree. Gozer's intro was good enough. Rowan, I agree, could have used just a little bit more. And the official novelization actually does add a little bit more. Yes, I'm that big of a dork. You want to know how big of a Ghostbusters dork I am? I actually bought this, too. The book that Abby and Aaron write in the movie. I bought that, too. So I've read both of these. Um, in the novelization, Rowan has a little bit more of a backstory, and there's enough in the movie where you get it, but I agree. I wanted just a little bit more so I could. It felt like they were trying to make Rowan a dark reflection of Aaron and Abby to a lesser extent. Um, really smart people who are ostracized for for being different. Look at Rowan. This is how Aaron could have ended up. This is the path Abby could have taken. I think they were trying to go with that dark reflection thing, and it doesn't quite come off. It's there if you look for it, especially in the one confrontation that the Ghostbusters have with Rowan when he's alive. But I agree. Just a little bit more, I think, would have really sold that and cemented it. Yeah, it was daytime when Aaron was at the restaurant dragging the table with her, and the portal opens within minutes of that, right? Well, right, but she does kind of have to run across town, and I guess she has to run all. I mean, she tries to get a cab back to Chinatown, where the Ghostbusters headquarters is, because that's where her equipment is. So I guess she gets another cab, or she runs. Maybe takes a subway. Trains probably running. Um, but yeah, so I forgot to look for it the second time I saw the movie, but maybe it's just the swirling cloud of ghostly evil is just encompassing New York and blocking out the sun. Because the last act of the movie feels like nighttime, and then suddenly it's daytime. But Holtzman is very clear. It's like, yeah, you guys were in the portal a couple seconds. So I don't know. Here's a weird thing. The book actually all due respect to the person who wrote the novelization, but it completely falls apart in the last act, even worse than the movie. For example, Erin goes home with her proton pack and uniform. She just kind of walks home. So the whole Erin has left us actually sells in the book, so her return makes sense. But in the book, she needs to get back to the Ghostbusters headquarters to get her equipment. It's like the novelization author forgot that she was actually wearing it. Um, Oops. There's some really great stuff in this book, though. There's one thing that I thought was really funny. Um, most of the stuff added in the novelization is just some backstory for Aaron and Abby, uh, their experiences in high school and stuff. But when Holtzman is introduced, when Aaron shows up at Abby and Holtzman's lab, and Abby introduced Holtzman to him, she says she specializes in experimental particle physics. She almost got into CERN. And Aaron says, almost. Holtzman was still playing with the blowtorch, on and off. There was a lab incident. She grimaced slightly, but her eyes twinkled. She seemed a bit like one of those feral children you saw in documentaries from France. Abby glanced over at her. He'll wake up. They said he moved a finger yesterday, Holtzman said, brightening a bit. Oh, good. That's a good exchange. That's they could have left that in the movie if that was actually filmed. That's pretty funny. She blew something up and just casually says, "They say he moved a finger yesterday." It's like, oh, good, that's a good step. I like that. That's good. Oh, in case you're wondering, Ghost from the Past. It's it's okay. It's kind of funny. It does exactly what you kind of. There's two ways you can approach this book. You can write literally the book that was in the movie, which would be really dry and boring, or you can make a joke about it, which is kind of hit and miss. But, you know, as a Ghostbusters super fan, I'm going to buy stupid crap like this. Um, Jordan asks, I feel like a movie with the Ghostbusters being forced to go under the radar and are shunned by the public could work. Yeah. They're working with the government, but they have to constantly. They have to be seen as frauds, even though at the end of the movie it's pretty clear that a good portion of the city recognizes what they did. And Andy Garcia is still hilarious, you know, denying the whole "oh no, there were no ghosts." And there's a news guy interviewing him saying, "So you're saying that terrorists spiked the water supply with hallucinogens, and that's what everyone saw ghosts?" And the mayor says, "Right. Wait, what?" I also love how Aaron says, "Don't be the mayor from Jaws." He goes, "Don't ever compare me to the mayor from Jaws." I love it. Some really great stuff in this movie. There are some stumbles. There are some significant stumbles. Enough that I would lower my rating of the movie from good down to okay. But there is some really enjoyable, really fun stuff in this movie. So, um, if you are like me and are a mark for Ghostbusters and as such are kind of predisposed to like it and want to like it, I recommend it because you're going to have fun. If you are absolutely completely fed up with remakes and reboots and stuff and have it out for reboots and remakes, it sounds cliche, but if you go in not wanting to like it, yeah, you're not gonna wanna, you're not gonna like it. Uh, but you know, let's see. That movie freaked me out as a kid. You know what? Another thing I really like about this movie is the designs of the ghosts are mostly pretty creepy. Not overtly pants-soilingly terrifying, but spooky creepy. If you're, you know, Slimer in the original movie is mischievous and fun, but in he has that menacing edge to him. The terror dogs are damn creepy. The zombie cab driver is really kind of creepy, and that kind of design follows into this movie. The library ghost in the original movie, the Gertrude Eldridge character, is similar to that, and attractive woman suddenly, you know, demon face. Um, the Slimer ghost is has a with the I thought I liked the Slimer ghost in the new movie. I thought the girl Slimer. I just don't like the design of girl Slimer. I think she looks dumb. Other than that, I was happy with Slimer in the movie. He's just a mischievous little green blob that messes with everything he gets his hands on. He sees food, he eats it. He sees the car, he's gonna drive it and just probably into a wall. Um, the float balloons are kind of menacing looking. The dragon ghost is fun, but it's kind of an evil looking dragon. A lot of the ghouls that you see flying around and the electricity prisoner ghost in the subway, they do a nice job of balancing creepy of making the ghost designs creepy. What doesn't quite work, I think, is at the end of the movie in the Times Square fight. The ghosts are so uniformly blue that it's kind of hard to get a read on what they are. It's like one's a pilgrim and one's a gangster and one's something else, but it doesn't visually come across like I think the movie really wanted it to. So there's an issue there, but uh, I wish they added a scene where they showed how they did the movie okay. I don't know what that means. Uh, Why do they have to be seen as frauds? Well, in the context of the film, because massive ghost invasion would cause massive panic and unrest, and they don't want that to happen. So it's like, no, 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 there's not ghosts coming and destroying everyone's idea of religion, and no, no, these are just fraud. It's spooky ghost stories. This is a weather balloon. It's that attempt to mitigate mass hysteria and panic. Um, did I get the Ghostbusters loot crate? No. Um, well, there's a lot of emojis. Female Slimer was weird. Female Slimer was weird, but she's in 20 seconds of the movie, so eh. you know, eh. What design of Slimer do I like best? 1, 2, reboot, or animated? Good question. It's a toss-up between it's a toss-up between 1 and the reboot. Hmm. I like the first. Well, I mean, you can never beat the first one because it's the first one. It's my favorite movie of all time. It's a practical effect, and so it looks like there's actually something there, even though it's optically added to the film, so it's transparent. But there was an actual puppet, which looks really cool. I hated the design of Slimer in Ghostbusters 2. Stupid looking as hell. Um, the design of Slimer in the animated series, uh, the real Ghostbusters was fine. I didn't like the character because it was just I don't like characters like Slimer or Glomer in the Punky Brewster cartoon. Those characters bug me. Um, I didn't like the design on the Slimer centric episodes they did in like season 5. Slimer and the Real Ghostbusters, where there was a Ghostbusters cartoon and then a specifically Slimer, almost Tom and Jerry esque. They redesigned him for that, and it was fine for what it was, but I didn't care. Um, but I do quite like the design in the reboot, and it has a lot of personality, and I like how mischievous that character is. Um, so nostalgia is probably and being first is going to tip it in favor of the original for me, but I am completely happy with the design and actions of Slimer in the reboot. Um, why did Times Square change? Yeah, Cecil, I mentioned this earlier. I don't know. And it's one of the things that pulls me out of the movie. Because I sit there thinking, why? And also visually, like how it's hard to read the different ghosts that are attacking at the end of the. One's a pilgrim and one's a 1920s gangster mobster. That's a cool idea, but it doesn't visually read. I guess they're just too uniformly blue, which is weird because Gertrude Aldridge reads perfectly as a woman in a dress. The subway ghost reads perfectly as a prisoner in being electrocuted in the in prisoner garb. But in the Times Square fight, none of the ghosts really read, except when Gertrude Aldridge and the green dragon ghost come into play. Although that stilt ghost, the American Sam looking ghost on stilts, is really cool. I have no idea what it's doing with the hand wavy smoke things, or it seems to be like the de facto general of ghosts, and I'm not sure why. Again, it's one of those weird things where it's like, what? I mean, it's cool, but huh? Um, let's see. I like the first Slimer better than the second, but I'm happy with the expression they could give him in the reboot. Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. What's interesting is when Slimer was unveiled, the first time Slimer was unveiled, it's a shot of him kind of floating towards the camera, and the screen grab that everyone used had a big smile with his tongue lolling out, and it's kind of stupid looking. I was like, but if you look at the whole scene, a couple frames after that, his tongue retracts and he gets this kind of mean, mischievous little look on his face. I'm like, that's the Slimer I know. I'm like, when he gets behind the wheel of the car, he's like, ah, he. I really like it. I think it's great. In the reboot, the reason they use the happy lolling tongue ghost is because that's the frame where he's in the center. Um, Here's the big one: thoughts on proton stream to the ghostly crotch. I don't have a problem with it. I thought it was pretty funny because it subverts an expectation. Basically, they turn the portal into a big ghost trap. I told you spoilers. And Rowan is being sucked into the trap, so he's holding onto a building. And they're like, "All right, everyone, let's loosen his grip." And they shoot him in the crotch. And then they top it off. So it's a subversion of expectations. I mean, it's lowbrow, but it worked for me. Because you expect them to shoot at his hand so he'll let go. They shoot him in the crotch. And I think Patty says, "That's where you wanted us to shoot him, right?" Yeah. That worked for me. I thought it was funny. Can you give an opinion on all the cameos of the old cast? Absolutely. Um, Honestly, Bill Murray's cameo was probably my least favorite. Um, I didn't think it was bad. It just didn't really do anything for me. Um, I hate to compare it, but it seems like he's kind of like the analog to Peck in the original movie, but he doesn't. I don't know. It just I didn't really. It was fine, but none of the cameos really stuck out. Sigourney Weaver's is feels kind of crowbarred in there just to have her in there, but it's during the credits, so doesn't really bug me. Um, Annie Potts was funny, although here's another part where the movie starts going, what? Uh, she's a receptionist at the hotel where Rowan works, and they're like, "We need to speak to Rowan North," and she's like, "Oh, what did he do now? You know what? I don't care. Just get him out of here." Yeah, Rowan's creepy, but was he bad at his job? Was he annoying the tenants? He seemed to be really attentive and good at his job. Someone says there's a plumbing problem of biblical proportions, and he says nothing would make me happier than to clean up all the poo. So I'm like, what? So it didn't make any sense. Dan Aykroyd's I thought as a cabbie I thought was hilarious. The idea she says take me to Chinatown. He's like, it's like a block further south than I want to go. I love that. That's funny. Um, Winston, I'm sorry. Um, why am I forgetting his name? Oh my gosh. Uh, Ernie Hudson. His cameo at the end is funny too. Let's see. DJ Deadpool, I don't know who you're responding to, but who are you responding to? Let's be nice in the chat, please. I don't know what argument's going on, but settle. Um, oh, and yeah, the very subtle Harold Ramis cameo in the form of a bust in the hallway outside of Aaron's office was a very sweet touch. I like that. Um, so yeah, the cameos I felt were all fine. They didn't interrupt the movie. Rarely did they really add to the movie, but I felt they were fun. The internet keeps screaming that this movie is sexist towards men. Uh, I've heard no one say that, but you keep asking how, I would ask the exact same thing. Um, there's apparently a bust of Harold Ramis just outside Aaron's office is somehow missed in both viewings. Yeah, it's when the dean or whoever comes in to talk to her about her tenure and saying that you need a reference more prestigious than Princeton. It's in that scene. Look outside the door and you'll see it. Um, Rowan turns into the Marshmallow Man from the original Ghostbusters. No, he turns into a perverted version of the Logo Ghost. It's giant and white, so it certainly kind of feels like the Marshmallow Man, but the Marshmallow Man, if you haven't seen the movie, it is in the film in the form of a parade, ghostly parade balloon. Uh, oh, there's a in the movie where the Stay Puft balloon is pinning the three Ghostbusters to the ground. Holtzman says, "Hey guys, this is exactly how I foresaw my death." And in the book, that joke continues. One of them says, "Being crushed to death by a Class 6, blah 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 blah," and she goes, "Oh, it's a Class 6? Well, never mind." That was funny. Um, I know that Rick Moranis is picky with roles today, but he couldn't do a cameo. Come on. Yeah, Rick Moranis is retired and has been for a long time. It is a shame that he wasn't in the film. From what I've read from his comments and others, I think they didn't really pitch it to him very well. It sounds like, or at least from what I read from him, it sounds like his interpretation was they wanted me to cameo in a new Ghostbusters. I'm like, why? Why are we making a new Ghostbusters? I think, like many other people who saw the first trailer, he was confused. He's like, is it a Ghostbusters 3? Is it a remake? I don't think he really. It may not have changed his mind any, but yeah, it is a shame that Moranis didn't have some cameo in the film. Um, so yeah, I think as a film, it's okay. But I did find it a uh, predominantly enjoyable watch. I really cottoned to the cast of characters, not just the Ghostbusters, but pretty much the entire extended cast, and would very happily follow them on further adventures. So, Rick Moranis doesn't look like he used to at all. Nobody would recognize him. It happens with age. So, let's see. Yeah, so any other last questions before we end? I think we've been doing this. I actually have to cut off a couple minutes at the beginning of here, but whatever happened to Peter Venkman's son? You think they'll ever expand on it? Well, unless they do some universe crossing stuff like uh, Earth 1 Ghostbusters and Earth 2 Ghostbusters, and they meet and Oscar is now. I don't know. I was never really a big fan of the idea that, oh, Ghostbusters 3 is going to have Oscar as a Ghostbuster, because that's just so obvious. I mean, it's like having Rey being Luke's daughter. You know, it's like, I certainly hope not. I hope Rey is not the daughter of any of the original characters, because that's boring. Um, DJ asks my favorite movie, Ghostbusters, the '84. So, um, how does this compare to Ghostbusters 2? I would say the reboot. I would say 2016 Ghostbusters is better than Ghostbusters 2. I would say that Ghostbusters 2 has higher highs, but overall, I would say Ghostbusters 2016 is a better movie than Ghostbusters 2. What would I like to see in a sequel? Um, I'm not really interested in seeing Zool in a sequel unless they're reimagining the idea. If you guys sat through the entire credits, there's a point where Patty is listening to a um, EVP tape, you know, the where you hear ghostly voices on analog tape. Is it EVP, electronic voice phenomena, or something? I don't know. And she goes, "Hey guys, do you hear something, Patty?" She's like, "Yeah." "What's Zool?" Dun dun dun. And it's like, ooh. I thought she was going to be listening to the fart tape that Holtzman and Holtzman and Abby make Aaron listen to towards the beginning of the film. But no, apparently it's some other recording from somewhere else in Zool. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going with Zool and Vince Clortho and Gozer and all that. Um, I hope they don't. I mean, if they want to just take the name and idea of Zool and take it in a new direction, I'd be happy with that. But if they redo the whole Zool Gozer thing, I don't want to see that because we've already done that. It's already in Ghostbusters, so I just like to see them go on more ghost adventures. I don't really have any specific idea, but I would like to see another Ghostbusters movie in this universe with this cast. Um, Let me move the mouse here. Yeah. I'm sorry. Chesumori says I was confused about Rey being Luke's daughter because I thought you meant Ray as in Ray Stantz for a few seconds. Yeah. Sorry about that. I switched to Star Wars really, really quick. Will they make a sequel? Did they make enough money for a sequel? I would like to see more from this team. Well, the last time I looked at the numbers, the movie has made a little over 190 million worldwide. The movie cost 144 million to make. No idea what they spent in advertising, but they should get their money back. Yeesh. Um, the toys and candies and all the ancillary revenue streams, that's all selling really, really well. Um, and the movie has made 190 plus million worldwide without China, so not too bad. Not a bomb, not a flop. Did not make as much money as everyone rooting for the film, which would be Sony and people like me. Didn't make as much as had hoped, but not a flop. Enough for a sequel? Probably not enough for a sequel that costs 144 million. But if they drop the budget down to like 70 million, I think they could get away with another Ghostbusters sequel. Just rein in that budget. This movie I don't think really needed to be 144 million. It's certainly pretty. It looks good. The effects are great, but and it does some really large set pieces in places. But they they could have pared that back even for this film without I think many sacrifices, and I'm talking completely out of my ass here. I don't work in Hollywood. I don't make movies for a living. But I think I think Sony did overestimate the brand power of Ghostbusters because I think China probably had it right. If this is true, China was reported as saying China is a person who said this. We're not releasing Ghostbusters because no one here knows what Ghostbusters is or cares. We didn't have the first two movies. And I think there's a lot of truth to that. So if they keep the budget under control, 70 million, I think it'll be fine. Keep in mind that toys are selling great. There's always video games. There's the Ecto Cooler and the slime-filled Twinkies. It still hasn't come out on DVD and Blu-ray. So this movie, unlike a lot of others, has a lot of ancillary revenue streams. So while the movie didn't perform as well in the box office as people had hoped, the franchise is still making money. Enough, I think, to do a sequel. Again, not as expensive as this one, but I don't think it really needs to be. So, EMP is what it is. Or, I don't know what you're talking about now. I know it's EVP. I think it's EVP, but anyway, I liked where they're reading the comments on the computer and there were people hating women ghosts like the filmmakers knew it would be controversial. Yeah, there's a scene in the movie where they're like, "All right, the video we uploaded a YouTube video and we've got 100 comments. Look, Aaron, look at this person." She goes, "Ain't no bitches, bust no ghosts." And she goes, "No, no, no, the one under that." The book, I feel, has a better. That same exact thing happens in the book, but the comment is, I think. The comment's something like, "I'd like to slap her in the face with my dick." And that feels more real to me rather than "ain't no bitches, bust no ghosts." That feels contrived for the movie. "I want to slap her in the face with my dick." That feels like something you would actually read in a YouTube comment section. So, point to the book in that case. The movie's made a profit in the domestic box office. I don't know about that. Last I looked, domestic box office was 120 million, something like that. It's released. I think it's. Last I looked, I think it's released in all the markets it's going to release in. Um, but don't quote me on that. Let's see. Uh, the main thing I want to see in a sequel is Kevin only pretending to be stupid, so he doesn't have to work that hard. Oh yeah, I didn't even talk about Kevin. Kevin, I was kind of concerned about because I really don't like stupid characters, but I'm usually okay with it if everyone recognizes that he's stupid, and they do. So I think he toes the line and he trips over it a few times for me, but overall I was like, Kevin's fine. He's funny in places, a little stupid. For instance, I don't buy him trying to grab the phone in the fish tank and stubbing his fingers on the glass repeatedly. That's just stupid. Them saying, "Don't listen now," and he goes, "Okay, I won't." That's fine. That's fine. But when he hears a loud noise that hurts his ears and he goes, "Ah," that makes no damn sense. Because that's like almost an autonomic response. You would do this if something hurts your ears. That's like stubbing your toe and grabbing your shoulder. It doesn't make any sense. Um, but for the most part, Kevin was fine. And it feels like there was a fair amount of Kevin stuff that was cut out of the film because you see him like wander into a scene, but then never do anything or say anything or not much. But same thing with Aaron's kind of creepy crush and inappropriate behavior towards Kevin. The fact that everyone else was like, Aaron, stop it, uh, made it okay. For instance, there's the scene where he brings Abby coffee and she says, "Did you put sugar in it this time?" And he goes, "Gulp." Oh, God, I hate coffee. Yeah, there's sugar in it here. And Aaron grabs it and says, "Hate good coffee to go to waste." That's disgusting. And but it goes a bit further where Abby says, "Okay, no, no," and she takes the coffee away from her. That worked for me. Um, so yeah, overall, Kevin gets a pass for me. Some of it was really funny. I actually like the Kevin character in the book a little bit better because the one in the book is genuinely stupid, but kind of earnest in his attempts at doing his job. Kevin in the movie just doesn't seem to really care. Although that's probably fine because you get the sense that he's a guy who's just coasted on good looks his entire life and has never had to do anything and gets away with everything, so he's never really bothered trying to apply himself. Although towards the end of the movie he does seem to like he feels part of the group and he's trying hard and failing. So kind of like Rowan, maybe there was an extra scene you could have added that may would have solidified the character better for me. Hmm. Do I think the film is a commentary on stereotypes like Kevin the Dumb Blonde, a pushy government, and women's rights? No. No, I don't. I think there are a lot of things you can take away from the film and discuss. I mean, you can certainly talk about the idea of the government kind of strong arming a private organization into doing a certain thing against their will, but for the overall greater good. I don't think the movie's really trying to communicate a particular position on that idea, but it's certainly an idea that's presented that is interesting to discuss and opine on. So things like that, but no, I don't think it's really overtly commenting on anything like that. New real Ghostbusters cartoon in the future? Yeah, there's a I forget what it's called. Ghost Core? No, that's not it. Ecto Core? I don't know. There's an animated movie and a cartoon series that's on the book. So yeah, looking forward to that. How long's Ecto Cooler going to be around? Well, hopefully forever because I know people who really like it. I never cared for High C, so Ecto Cooler never did that much for me. Uh, uh, Yeah, I can't wait until they reboot it a third time and people are like, "Are you talking about the 80s, the 2016 or the 2025 version?" Yeah. It was reboot the movie every single time. Just keep calling it Ghostbusters. Every single time. Um, so it sounds like I'd recommend the novelization. No, I would not. I do not recommend the novel. As a curiosity, I mean, it's $8. If you're curious, it's a quick read. Go ahead and grab it. I feel that the novel absolutely falls apart. The movie, I feel, is weak in the third act compared to the first two acts. The novel, I feel, completely falls apart and face plants in the third act. So no, I don't recommend the novelization. Um, yeah, I wasn't trying to reference anything with Ernest. I was meaning Ernest as in the genuinely putting forth an effort to do his secretarial duties and horrifically failing at them. Um, Another thing with Kevin, they're trying to get a logo out of him, and he gives the big boob ghost, and he's like, "Is it the boobs you don't like? Because I can make them bigger." That's funny. The He shows a picture of a house with a hot dog floating above it. And he's like, "Well, I thought the hot dog implied that there was a ghost holding it." And you can follow this weird guy's stupid thought process, and that's funny. And then he just shows the 7-Eleven logo, and it's like, what? I Non sequitur I don't think works for Kevin as well as just sincerely stupid. Weird, sure, like the whole he's in the semifinals of the hide and seek tournament. That's weird enough to be funny. The Mike Hat thing, I'm kind of off and on that joke. It works okay. Uh, Kevin was kind of hit and miss for me, but didn't take the film. Let's see. There was something I want. Oh! The ending is a little bit different in the book. I wanted to discuss that. So in the movie, and again, full spoilers. In the movie, uh, Rowan Ghost gets sucked into the portal, grabs Abby on his way in. Aaron's like, no, and wraps a fire truck tow cable around her waist and dives in after her, grabs her, and the other two pull him out. Cool. And their hair turns white for some reason. And then she dyes it a really bad orange. And the Garfield joke doesn't work. But in the next scene, she has her normal hair color. And I'm not sure if that's meant to imply that this is a little bit later and she fixed her hair, but I don't know. In the book, oh man, let me try to remember what exactly how it works in the book. Uh, oh, that's what it is. Abby is going to um, use herself as bait to lure Rowan into the portal. So Abby ties the tow cable around her waist, runs at the portal with the intention of jumping in, so Rowan will follow her, and then they can drag her out. But the tow cable's stuck on something, so she takes it off and just jumps in the portal, sacrificing herself for the greater good. And Rowan jumps in after her. Aaron dislodges the cable, wraps it around herself, jumps in, grabs her, and it ties into the whole you left me high and dry with the whole book thing back in the day, which has gone into greater detail in the book. But I wasn't going to leave you twice. Honestly, I like the way they do it in the movie better. I think that's a little less contrived. I think it works fine in the movie. Um, Although it's interesting, you can tell from some of the trailers that they did at least partially shoot that because there's a couple shots of Abby yelling up at the camera, insults, "Hey, you stupid ghosty!" And if you look behind her, there's the tow cable trailing behind her. So it's obvious that she's trying to get his attention, and then she's going to go run for the portal. When I first saw that, I thought they had like a power cable to her to her proton pack that they forgot to digitally erase or some weird thing, but it's actually the tow cable that they went a different direction for the end of the movie. Um, yeah. They come out of the portal with white hair, and she says, which is interesting because the joke isn't really set up. you would think Aaron would say something like, "What year is it?" She says, "2040. Our president is a plant." But she, j- funny joke, doesn't have the proper setup. I don't think. Um, the tow cable being just long enough was pretty dumb in the movie. I hate it when things only work out in stories because of a coincidence. Um, yeah, I watched the movie first. I actually saw the movie. So I saw the movie opening night. Uh, got back from vacation, ordered the book, read the book last week, and then saw the movie again last Sunday. So one of them actually does say what year is it while looking at the other's hair. Oh, okay. Must have got buried in the dialogue, or I forgot it. Okay, cool. So yeah, I've been chatting for an hour, so that's probably enough. Thanks everyone for hanging out with me and chatting. If you like this format, this whole review party type of thing, let me know in the comments or tweet or whatever, and maybe we'll do another one of these sometime. Oh, Cecil, you saw it in IMAX? Did you see 3D? Because I made a video about this. Well, I posted an excerpt of a video I did talking about the 3D. But yeah, Sony, learn to market. Come on. But anyway, review parties. Maybe we'll do one for another film sometime if you like. But that's enough out of me. So thank you everyone for attending. And hope you enjoyed. And I'll see you later. Bye bye.